Hello, I'm Amber Uper, and this is another episode of Mini Lathe Amateur. And as you can see, I have my 7x10 mini lathe here. This one is the Central Machinery lathe from Harbor Freight Tools. And I've done a fair amount of stuff with it, and it works pretty good. But I've been getting these different accessories for it to make it easier to work with for various operations. So today's video, I'd like to talk to you about a couple of new accessories that I just got for it. So I'm going to bring the camera in closer and then we'll take a look at them. Okay, so let's talk about some accessories. First, there's this. This is obviously, you can probably read that, Little Machine Shop. That's where I've been getting most of my stuff for this little mini lathe because they have pretty much everything you'd need. This is a drill chuck. This is a 3/8 Jacobs 41BA chuck. Let's take it out of the package. Now this, it's just the chuck when you get it, chuck and the chuck key. This part here is not included. So there's your chuck. It's just a, decent 3/8 chuck. You can buy these separately. It's a short MT2 taper shaft with the 3/8. I think it's I don't remember what the thread is. I think it's 3/8 fine thread. I'm not sure. But anyway, screws on here. This allows you to use the chuck in the tailstock of the lathe to drill holes in the center of whatever it is that you're turning. So that's quite the handy little device there. The chuck that I had, the drill chuck that I had on this short taper shaft here, was an old one and it wasn't so good. So I bought a new one. We'll see how accurate that one is. The old one, it was pretty well worn and not real accurate. So for my next item here, this is a carriage stop for the mini lathe. So let's take that out. Now this goes right on the bed of the lathe. And let's see, yeah, you can see that. What that does, actually it goes like this. And it clamps on to the lathe. This is a fine adjustment for once you get it in position. And basically, it just clamps on like that. And let's see, I got to show you how that works. So, just for the purpose of showing you how it works, let me move the camera. Okay, so you can see the bed. So this has the groove in it. Let's see, yeah, you can see the groove in it now. That's for the top of the bed, for this part of the bed, and it basically just goes on and you clamp it on like that and it stays in position. Now this is the wrong end because it should be on the other side of that, unless you were trying to use it as a stop for an the outside end of a cut. But so we'll crank this over. I don't think you can see beyond it. Yeah, I'll move the camera. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the other item I have is this. And this is a carriage lock for this. It's made for this mini lathe, for the 7x10 or 7x12 or 7x14, whatever they are. Whatever length the bed is. And so we'll get that out. We'll take a look at that. This is going to be a little greasy, so let me grab my rag. They pack them in oil so that they won't have rust problems. Okay, so there's that. I'll clean it up a little bit. Makes it easier to handle it. Okay, so there it's a really basic thing, my hand's in the way. let's see. Yeah, you can see it that way. Put it up here where you can see it a little better. Okay, so basically what that does is it mounts on the carriage, and you use it to lock the carriage in place when you're making, like when you're facing something. So I'm going to move the camera again so you can see the bed of the lathe, and then you'll be able to see where all this stuff goes. Okay, so now that I got that there where you can see these two little screws here, little grub screws. The only reason that those are there is to plug the holes so stuff doesn't get in the holes. And basically this carriage stop mounts right there on those holes. Now, I've seen a number of videos where people have made you know, their own carriage stops for the lathe carriage, and it's usually on the back side here of the carriage, but this one, you know, you can buy it already made for it. Well, I didn't want to mess around, so basically it goes here, and then the lock goes in here, and you have to adjust it obviously so that it's fairly tight. You got to screw this thing on. That goes up underneath the carriage. It goes this way, up underneath. And you probably can't see this at all because that's just how my camera is. But that's basically how that is. And you use it to, like I said, to lock the carriage in position so that it doesn't move back and forth. There is a little bit of slop here. And also, when if you don't lock the carriage down when you're facing something, the carriage has a tendency to back away from the part due to the pressure of the tool on the part you're facing. So there's that. I'll have to mount that. And then here's the carriage lock, and that goes on like this. And I gotta loosen it up a little bit. So that goes on here like this. And basically what that does, it stops the carriage. So, and the whole purpose of that is if you are cutting something and you want to start the cut in the same place every time, instead of winging it like I have a tendency to do, this will solve that problem. And it's fine adjustable with this little screw right here. You can just adjust that in or out to make a fine adjustment for how far forward or backwards. And I'll give you an example here. Let's open up my chuck. And by the way, this is, let me move the camera a little more. This is my new 4-inch chuck that I talked about in my last video. And I got it all mounted and tested and everything. So for the purpose of explaining this, I'll use this piece of rod. And let's take that off there. Or not, we'll just shove it through. So this goes through like that. So this is a piece of 3/4 inch rod, and because the hole through the 4-inch chuck is big enough, you can run that piece of rod right through there. The hole in the spindle of the lathe is a little bit bigger than 3/4. It's supposed to be like 0.87. So you can run anything as big as 3/4 of an inch through the chuck, which you cannot do with the 3-inch chuck, which is why I bought the 4-inch chuck. But anyway, so we'll tighten this up like this. So that's mounted. So say you want to make a cut that starts at a certain measurement here, and you want to be able to repeat that cut. This stop gives you the ability to stop in the same place every time, so you don't either not go far enough when you're cutting or too far when you're cutting, you know, to set up the next cut. because you know you got to take it down in layers. You can't just take it all down at once, and you want to have a repeatable end to your cut. So I'll grab a cutter here. Okay, so you want to put your cutting tool on there, and you want to go here. Let's crank that over. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you want to start right there. Now when you cut, you're going to do that, and then when you come back, you want to come back to the exact same spot. That's what the carriage lock is for. So it puts you at the same spot every time. And it's quite handy. Now, for me cutting axles for my railroad wheels, I need to be able to stop it at the same place every time, because the measurement is important when you're doing an axle, because you have a specific length of axle between the wheels, so that the back-to-back measurement of the wheels is always correct. So that's the whole idea behind having a carriage stop, so you can repeat that same cut until you've got it cut down to the diameter that you need. So that's my new accessories here.